Hey guys, today I want to compare two different component libraries that are pretty popular in the Webflow space. Well, one of them that's pretty well known is Relume, and another one that's a little bit younger and that's just come up is called Grid Up. I've used them both, and I kind of want to share my thoughts on them and see which route you might want to choose. So component libraries are essentially libraries that let you take styled or unstyled components and use them inside of Webflow, but they've also been pretty popular in code as well to take components and use them inside your projects. And this can help your ideation, your prototyping, help you move a lot faster instead of starting to build everything from scratch. Almost taking the principle of atomic design a little bit and placing that into your workflow for your projects. So these are very, very valuable whenever you're having to churn projects out really, really fast, especially in today's world where things are needed to be pushed through really quickly, and speed is the name of the game. Speed and execution. So getting into it, we have Relume, which has been around for a good while now. I've been using for a bit myself, and I actually do enjoy them as well. And some newer guys, Grid Up, that I've also tested out and used and have enjoyed, and I kind of want to share my thoughts on them and see which route is best for you. So now both of these libraries do use client first, which is a very, very popular way to develop now in Webflow. Finsweet's a pretty amazing company if you haven't heard of them already. And from my experience, Relume is already on client first V2, and Grid Up I think is on V1 right now. So there's a little bit of a difference there. Now it's not a major issue, but if you're already using V2 like I am, and then having to take V1 components, it can be a little annoying, but I won't get into that quite yet. So they do both utilize client first, which is great because you can take a lot of the learnings from Finsweet. You can still take that same way of working inside of Webflow and continue on with it without having to redo everything. So I kind of want to talk about Relume for a little bit, how it works, what it is, and the differences here. Relume, again, is a component library. It is unstyled, and they have been on the community for a long time. They do have a new product as well, which is a Relume Ipsum. I won't get into that. Pretty neat, but they've been doing a lot. Their community is very large. They do have a lot of content that's been pumping out now with the head-to-head challenges and with Relume on YouTube. And their Slack channel is pretty large as well, with a lot of people inside of it. So there's a lot of community involvement going on inside of Relume, and it's pretty nice. You could jump into a community and speak to other people, see how other people are using it, ask questions. That's a nice benefit here of Relume. So with that, you'll go into access the library, and this is going to be web-based mainly here. So you have their site and the Relume library site, okay? You can pick from any of their components, you can browse components, and they have a very, very large selection. They do have page templates, UI elements. Color palettes is another thing that they have in here as well. And I'll start to show you how some of this stuff works here in a little bit. So you can take some of these, you can build your own. It's pretty nice. Take background colors, text colors, very, very nice way to get you started with your designs and development. And then of course you also have their Figma templates or boards as well that take what they've already built in here and place inside of Figma so you can work really seamlessly. You can get that free Figma kit here. But from there, you'll go ahead and really want to keep this open whenever you're starting to work on a project at all. Because now we come into Webflow, and here's where the differences start to kind of occur. Now with Relume, you're not really doing much here. You'll copy or duplicate their Relume library style guide. That way you have everything. And this is really just a landing page here with a little intro. It tells you where to go. Okay. You'll have your draft style guide. So this is what you'll edit whenever you're going to start making a new project and take it over from whatever you've designed or want to create. So you'll go ahead and start editing this, pasting your color palettes. And to work with this, you'll essentially still work with the client first layout here, and I won't get into this yet. You have your page wrapper, main wrapper. This is Hey guys, Future Josiah here. So there was a major update that happened soon after me recording this video, and actually changes a lot about the review, if you will. So Relume actually now can work inside the Webflow designer like Grid Up could. And so now that levels the playing field a ton and brings the differences even closer. Still a little bit more automation from Grid Up, but now at least you don't have to leave the designer for Relume. So let me show you. So we're here in the designer, right? Typically what you're used to. I got my client first project here, and this one just has some GSAP coding and stuff like that. So we'll won't get into anything like that. But let's say I do want to go to a page that isn't done being built here. I think something like this, right? Okay. Got some template stuff here. And now I can go ahead and go to my main wrapper. I can do Relume. We can do the SVG icon converter. It'll take you to that. Do some settings, change which style guide you're using, Finsweet or Relume, and make sure class syncs on. But you see the Relume library. What's cool is that this syncs up with what you've saved. It was a part of your account. And also, of course, all the components here too. Okay, so here inside the interface, you do have your Relume icon. Before, only had a couple of options. But now you do have the whole library. Okay. Even UI elements and page templates as well. So you can copy whole pages. So like a whole pricing page, and then you can preview that here on the right. And again, you just copy and paste like normal, but now Relume has put this inside their product, and it kind of strengthens more my argument on just sticking with Relume. Again, Grid Up still has those other benefits, but we'll continue. So now let's get into the Grid Up. Okay, so now we have Grid Up, and I'm logged in here. So your dashboard, library, resources. So Grid Up is going to be very, very similar. Again, you have the components, all components. Let's just do that and take a look here. And I think only recently they've allowed you to copy from here. Well, I guess not. Okay, so you can preview the component in here. Okay. And again, they do have some really nice components here. In fact, theirs are a little bit more diverse or unique, in my opinion, than some of Relume's, right off the bat at least. Relume does have some really, really nice uncommon ones in there as well, but there's just some nice diversity in here. Now, with Grid Up, this is where it gets really different. So Grid Up actually, their whole thing was really around workflow, and it's kind of meant to use inside the Webflow project itself. So I'm at a blank project here. You can see there's nothing here. I just have just a home page. So I just started a blank project. This is where it gets kind of cool. So it takes you through the plugin here, and you have 4 steps to start your project. So you can actually add buttons. Okay, so I'll do that. And I happen to like, let's do one with an arrow here. All right. So choose button. Then let's do button set here. Now a secondary button for this project. Let's keep the same square theme, right? Maybe add that. And tertiary, let's just do a link one there, add that. And then we got a button link. Click on that, add that. All right, then hit save. Now we can choose the navigation bar. And I'm just gonna stick with nav bar 1 for simplicity, but they do have some pretty cool ones in here as well. So let's just do nav bar 1, save, and choose your footer. Okay, edit that. And again, let's just stick with the basic one here, save. And now this is where if you already have existing classes, you can delete them all, and we won't get into that. You can overwrite classes that equal, or you can skip the equal and add only Grid Up classes. And so right now we don't have anything, so I can just pretty much just do skip equal and build that. And now it's going to build it and then refresh the page. So while it's refreshing, this is pretty nice so far if you don't want to flip back and forth in tabs. That's kind of the nice thing about how this is working right now. And it's been pretty fun to use inside the Webflow interface compared to the tabs. Let's go back here. So we're automatically greeted with the page here. And right off the bat, I do like the way that they've done their style guide compared to Relume. Relume mimics a little bit more of what Finsweet is doing in theirs. Finsweet is even more minimal for their client first, but this one kind of introduces you into what the structure is like. So they take you straight to the docs. You have the style guide here, a nice structure to go where you need to go. And I think it's just presented a little bit nicer for someone who's kind of first getting into this. Same thing, there's still some colors and it's very, very similar. But this is where things start to get pretty different. Now the buttons here are actually usually built by symbols, so you can search them. So I just take Control-K on my keyboard and I'll search button, and then you can find them here. Okay, so again, just trying to do things that are really helpful to your workflow. So now that we've had this built in here, we will go ahead and go home. And I no longer have to go through different tabs to find everything here. So the cool thing is I can add components. Right, so first of all, notice that this page is blank. And so I can actually take my Grid Up plugin, I can add the page structure, and I can add it to all pages or just ones that I'm selecting. So that's really nice, meaning if I've already generated all the pages, I can start adding the structure to all the pages here. Boom, it's added. And you'll notice that this comes with now my navigation bar and footer. So things are sped up a little bit here. Again, they really focused on workflow. Let's go back to the plugin a little bit. So we can go to components, okay? And we can see all of our components in here. So I just want to go to a header, all right? And, I like header 2 here. Boom. And that can go into here. Same thing, it's going to go inside my main wrapper. CSS section header 2. So this is dashed like client first version 1. I haven't upgraded to version 2 yet. All right. And, if we do sections, we can do contents, frequently asked questions. Let's go ahead and just do a timeline, for example, or let's just keep it simple let's do case studies. Say this is going to be like a page for a case study here. So that one is copied and boom. So maybe now this is entering into the case study and then it goes into some of the case study in here. Great. So we have that here. So that kind of works a little similar, but it's nice not having to leave the Webflow canvas and you're working directly inside of Webflow to make these pages. Now this is where it also gets kind of cool. So first you also have the page templates, so you can do an about page. So let's say I want to do an about page. Now what's going to happen is you can add pages with a structure. Add new page. You can do about, okay. And then let's do add. And you know what? Let's do another one. So add new page. Let's do contact us. And then let's hit add. Let's do create all. Now these pages get made with the client first structure already attached to them. Back on the home page here, and now on my about page with the same structure. Go back to my components here, and let's say I just want to do page, and let's do about. I like the way that one looks. Boom. All right. So actually I can take that. I can get rid of this one. There we go. Okay, now the about page is here and everything is the same. And back to contact us, I can delete that actually. Go ahead and do, okay, I don't have there's not a contact one in here, but that's fine. So let's just do jobs for now, just for the sake of the demo. Okay, great. And now you have the jobs page. So you can see I've just created like 3 full pages pretty quickly. And so those are some of the different use cases. Now, the cool thing is these can be used in tandem if you want to, but I wouldn't suggest using the different style guides together. If you're going to probably use Grid Up and then you want to use Relume with it, then maybe start with a Grid Up style guide because some weird things start to happen. But also it starts to get tricky if you try to combine them, because these style guides are very, very different. Now, the main difference, like I mentioned before, that I've noticed is going to be the version 1, the version 2 project, and at the end of the world, but it can get a little confusing. And also the buttons and how things are symboled out here. And it is pretty neat because instead of having to, for example, let's go to, see if I have this button group, okay? And if I wanted to add a button, and then I would add a button, and then I would style it button, okay? And that's all great, but a little less steps, I can actually just do button component, and then there's the whole button, right? And then you can, since Webflow's done their components, you can really just style the text and say, go here. And if you really feel like you need to do something different to these, you can actually just go ahead and unlink that instance. But the cool thing is if you do decide to change the button here, maybe in your project, then it changes everywhere as well. But it also, depending on how you style these, it will change there too. Okay, so there's that example of how that kind of works. I am kind of on the fence about how these are kind of working. I get the idea and I like it. I think sometimes it just adds a little bit of extra friction for the friction it's trying to create. It's like you kind of give and take, just because how the buttons are, you have to edit the symbols and it gets a little weird sometimes, but I get the speed aspect. So again, the big thing here is that it's actually working inside the Webflow canvas, and that is the main part that they've really built in to ease workflow. Either one of these are really going to speed up your workflow and with how you use them. So they're both great in that regard. Now, because Grid Up is a lot smaller, and actually I don't think there's a team behind this thing, it's just one person, unlike Relume now has a team, there are less components available, and they are also coming out less frequently, right? Now, Relume has a nice schedule. Every month they release components on a nice basis, but Grid Up is going to have less components and resources overall. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. At the end of the day, I mean, these things are just mainly meant to help you speed up your workflow, but you can start to find more and more use cases for something that might already be built inside of Relume that isn't available inside Grid Up. They do have similar ones for sure, but there are definitely things inside of Relume here that they're just missing inside of Grid Up. So you can go to uncommon elements, for example. So let's just say we do a hero section, and then we can go view more, uncommon, and then we can see some really unique ones that are using some Webflow interactions and some pretty cool things that are going on. It's a little bit of custom code in this one that just there's not this much variety and depth available inside of Grid Up. Now, another thing I really, really like about Relume is their icon library. Now, this is fantastic in working with Figma and working inside of Webflow as well, with doing embeds with SVGs if you're using open source icons. And it's just taking a little while to load. Okay, it's loaded here. So we do have just different icon libraries here. You have the massive Google Material one, and then you can copy these for Webflow, whatever route you want to use, Webflow, Relume, or just download it as an SVG. So these are all in one place here, right? And actually, I think this is available to the public. I don't think you need to sign in for this, but still, it's nice to know that this is a resource that they put out. Going back to the home page, Relume, now both of these are actually similarly priced. Relume is $38 a month if you're doing monthly, and $48 a month if you're doing the Pro. And the Pro, I think you can use more of the library work, and it's if you're really trying to create these libraries and working on some pretty intense projects, the Pro is going to be pretty helpful for you. Now with Grid Up, I can't really go to dashboard here. Okay, no, I can't see the pricing here easily, but it is just one price of $39 a month. And again, on this one, you're really, really paying for the convenience of how it's working inside the Webflow interface here. So you kind of just want to pick and choose which one you would like to do. Now, to wrap this all up, which one would I recommend and prefer? Well, if you're starting from scratch, either one's a good way to go. They're similarly priced, but if you like variety and you like community, you can go with Relume. I tend to lean towards Relume myself. Again, I love the community. I love who have built this. I've had conversations with them, a little bit more of a personal connection there. But also, I really enjoy their depth of components that they've been able to build. And I can really just find things for my use case that I can't do inside of Grid Up. But since they've just done so much value in the community, it's kind of one of those things where I also want to give back to them as well. Now, nothing wrong against Grid Up. And like I said, it is a great product and there are a lot of great things to say about it, but my personal preference has been with Relume. Now, if you do decide to go with Grid Up, then you're going to be going into something that's going to speed your workflow even more. Because you noticed how I created those pages, already with the layouts on them even faster. That's going to add up over time, and saving a couple of seconds, a minutes, a day, is going to add up to hours, and that calculates out the just days of work saved in the future, right? But for me, I've preferred Relume because of their breadth and depth of assets available and components, and how they've just kind of tied and created this whole ecosystem around everything, especially with their new Relume Ipsum product that they've launched as well, which I did not talk about here, but it's something nice to just pair in. And hey, these guys are really, really trying to create things for designers here too. So I will be sticking with Relume for the foreseeable future, unless for whatever reason something just else comes along that's amazing. But so far, I love what they've created, and I will continue using their product as well. It is not enough for me to switch over to Grid Up. But like I said, if you're starting from scratch, you can probably pick or choose one or the other and just see what values more to you. Is it the convenience of working in the canvas, or is it going to be the breadth and depth of components? Each one has its place. You can just choose which one you want, especially because they're similarly priced. And lastly, my major preference is actually because Relume is using V2 client first. I design in V2 now and develop in V2, so that is a big deciding factor for me. I don't have to translate things over from V1 to V2 if I don't have to. So that's actually for the time benefits, for me personally, it actually ends up costing me more time to translate everything over to V2 instead of just already working with V2. So that's kind of a point against Grid Up right there on that one. Okay, hope you enjoyed this video. For people who are getting started with Webflow and component libraries, I'm going to be making more and more content here coming in pretty soon. So stay tuned for that.